Alright guys, in the next iteration of what is NA doing this week, and the correct answer is a whole lot of nothing. We're going to be talking about the Interlude campaign number 14 that's going to be coming to the NA version of the game. Before we begin though, if you have not already, make sure to leave a like on the video and you subscribe to the channel, as it does help me out more than you know. And if you want to see me play FGO live, I stream every weekday starting at around 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on my Twitch, obviously linked in the description. But yeah, as I said, just right there, this is pretty much like the third thing in a row that people over on the NA version of the game are not very excited about. I mean, Oku Rerun, it gives you a lot of material, but if you've already done the event, it's not fun to play a second time. It's cool if you're playing it the first time because the story's pretty good, but for like 90% of us that have already played it, it's not super great, and it was literally just, I'm glad that Calm is going on Raid Up again. Then you have the 18 million download campaign, which, unless you're a huge fan of like Lost Belt 3, it was probably not that good of a celebration for you. And then Interlude Campaign 14, in all honesty, while I wouldn't say that this is like the worst banner I've ever seen, it's not really as hyped as a lot of the other stuff that we know is going to be coming. I mean, we know that Scott Hawk and Okita are going to be getting raid-ups relatively soon. We know that new servants like Himiko, Van Gogh, Ashia Doman, Ibuki, and Shiro Muramasa are right around the corner, and those are extremely hyped servants that people are looking forward to. So this is just not really going to be winning anybody's Saint Quartz unless you're just the biggest fan of Atalanta Alter or Shuten-doji. What you're really going to be caring about this campaign for is being able to do some of these interludes, because not only is it going to give you some Saint Quartz, it's going to push you forward on those missions for doing interludes where, you know, every 10 interludes you do, you get 10 Saint Quartz. And some of the buffs here are actually pretty good. Relatively, I would say this is a good batch of buffs. I think the two people that are benefiting the most are Shuten and Suzuka. Atalanta Alters is a little bit weird, but I can kind of see what they're going for. And then Avicebron is just good because they're buffing his NP and giving him extra damage with a little side buff to his overcharge. So starting off first with Shuten-doji's third skill that's going to be getting buffed. Basically, they're just tacking on a 30% battery to this thing. It's going to help her out a little bit. This is one of the things that we oddly tested on stream a couple weeks back when Castoria released. You'll notice that Shuten has a one-hit NP, and someone else that also has a one-hit NP that we were testing out was Saber Nero, because we were like, well, maybe there's got to be a way to allow these one-hit arts NPs to do a 3-turn farm. And, you know, if you kind of fudge the numbers a little bit, maybe give them, you know, sometimes a maximum broken K scope, or you just pump them full of a lot of NP, they can get the job done. And I mean, giving her this 30% battery is definitely going to help her do that. And at the very least, there's kind of an incentive to force Shuten to be able to do those loops if you want to do it, because Shuten does just do a lot of damage. She does hit really hard. So, you know, it's kind of worth it, right? Because, you know, her attack is just so high and she does a lot of damage. You can maybe try to use her for some farming things. Getting this extra 30% is definitely helpful, but not like game-breakingly busted. But it is very nice if you're someone like me who owns Shuten. You know, it's nice. You know, you can try to use it, make some attempts to use her for farming. I don't know what you're going to be using her for, because, you know, you could also just use someone like Kiara instead as your AoE assassin, because, you know, alter egos are also going to be super effective against riders. But hey, it's nice that you have the option, I suppose. Suzuka is going to be getting a buff to her first skill. This is going to make her a little bit more consistent. So instead of making these 1 turns, they're kicking them up to 3 turns, and they're throwing on a bonus effect here. So now that 40% buster buff that only lasted for 1 turn is now getting the 3 times treatment. So now you can at least spread the damage out a little bit. So let's say that your first turn with Suzuka is like NP, which is obviously a buster card, then arts and quick, right? Like maybe that's just the brave chain you have, right? At the very least, you have that buster buff for the next 2 buster cards you might get on the next turn, and it kind of lets your overall spread of damage be a bit better, right? It just is more beneficial. The 50% star generate obviously is helping her with her NP. Kicking that up to 3 turns is very, very nice, because it means that if you're firing her NP numerous times, you can kind of keep some nice flow of stars coming in. And then obviously the crit damage buff, 50%, is very good. I don't like that it's cut to 3 times, because a lot of servants nowadays are just getting that 50% crit damage for free, but, you know, we'll definitely take it. This is going to mean that Suzuka, even without support, can do some pretty nice buster crits. And again, with the spreading out of the buster performance here, she's able to kind of make herself a little more consistent, quote unquote. So yeah, Suzuka definitely got a pretty strong buff. This is definitely very good for her. Atalanta Alter, this is the one that's like really strange for me because it's like a buster. It's like a buff to her buster cards because of the crit thing right here, right? So she's increasing the critical damage of her buster cards specifically by 50% for 1 turn and then bombing 20 stars, right? I can kind of see what they're going for. They're kind of like you get like 1 really big burst turn of buster damage, right? You can really take advantage of the buster crits. The buster cards hit the hardest, so you want to be critting on those. It's just the odd thing is like, why do we not have like specific buster card star weight? I understand that they also want you to maybe be able to crit on the arts cards as well, but this right here is going to be completely wasted if, say, even if you have all of Atalanta's cards, you bomb this and they might all go to the quick cards, right? And it's like, well, we just kind of wasted this effect right here. I don't really know why it's not just general crit damage, right? It's just very, very strange. Because Atalanta Alter as a servant is just all about like dropping a whole bunch of stars, right? And then just doing mad crits. And so I don't really understand why we're restricting it only to buster cards, because it's going to lead to some very awkward moments, like they're really like, all right, I'm ready to do some buster crits, and then like half of them are going to go to like your support caster, and the other half are going to go all to like her arts cards. Although I guess you could say you don't really have to worry about them going to the support caster because her star weight is so massive for that turn. I don't know. It's really strange. You guys see what I mean? Where it's like, it's not bad, but it's not great either. You know, it's just a very strange buff to give her. Then finally we have Avicebron. He's getting the buff to his NP, and he's also getting a buff to his overcharge down here, where they're not only, as you can see, buffing the damage scaling because they're buffing his NP, but they're also just throwing in this extra 20% NP damage buff. Is pretty good because if you don't know, because you've never used Avicebron or something, he also has a card buff over here, so he can also double buff himself that way, and it's just going to make him a lot better because Avicebron is one of those free-to-play like legendary servants because of this 80% battery. He can be very, very useful for you, especially now that he can actually do some really good damage. If you need someone to like clear a wave 1 or something for you, Avicebron's definitely going to be like a guy, or maybe you're earlier on in the game. This is definitely a very strong character to go ahead and level up because this is going to give him some really, really good damage on top of him having basically an 80% battery. So yeah, that's pretty much it over here on the NA version of the game. I know, really exciting, right? You know, a lot of riveting stuff, but we do have the Skullhawk Fest coming up soon. If you guys don't know, it's going to be a lottery. Lotteries, if you're maybe newer and you don't know what those are, it's like basically you can infinitely farm these points, and then you use them to open up boxes, quote unquote, and the boxes have a lot of material. More importantly to some people, they have QP, the prisms, they have experience cards, a lot of really, really good stuff. You want to farm that as much as possible. So maybe just take this week to I don't know if you're playing JP to focus on the Summer 7 event, or just, you know, use your daily AP farming QP experience cards, doing some of the interludes, catching up on things, maybe farm some mats here and there to kind of get your servants up to snuff. Look over some of the event farming nodes to make sure you're up to par, being able to do a lot of these. Gong is going to be very, very good for one of the nodes, as will Jason, I believe. From what I remember from farming the event when it came around the first time, I remember that Jason and Gong were very, very good for specific nodes. So you're going to want to have servants like that leveled up. Take the time to go ahead and beef up your box a little bit. But yeah, with that being said, let me know what you guys think on the comments down below about this potential dead week on FGO. I'm really hoping that they don't wait to the 23rd and maybe just on Sunday or something, Copium, they drop the event early, because don't just leave us with a whole dead week like this. Otherwise, I'm not going to make it, dude. Because I'm like, dude, if I didn't have JP to farm, this would be like just horrendous, right? But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like and subscribe. Twitch, link down in the description down below. All that good stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace. Late, guys.